Wow. Alex is here with us to discuss this, and you can already watch the full report if you scan the QR code. You alluded to that moment last hour. It was the first time I'd seen it. Just extraordinary to be the person to tell them they were going home. Where exactly was that? Was that closer to Greece than Libya, or...?
Yeah, it was 5 hours sea crossing away from Libya.
Wow.
And very close, within, a short distance from, if they'd got a proper boat and if their engine had been working and if they'd got fuel, they probably would have been there in an hour or so.
Oh, wow.
Maybe not even that.
Wow.
And it took several times telling him that he wasn't going to Europe, because the initial reaction was relief that they'd been brought across on this big boat, relief that they'd survived after so long at sea, just, not running out of water, running out of food, running nearly out of hope, and then to realise that actually they were being taken right back. And they know, because a number of them are already doing it, that probably meant to stay in a detention centre, possibly having to pay a ransom to get out, maybe there for many months. I mean, some of the people we spoke to were there for a year.
Wow, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary moment, and I can't even imagine what it must have been like for you at the time as well. You have these very personal stories there. You can see the guy's face as you tell him the news, but it's part of a much bigger story about migration across the globe. Countries in Europe are all grappling with it in different ways, and then you see the kind of desperate people who are just going back again and again and again. I just wonder what your kind of reflections are on it, as someone who has seen it, across the world.
Well, this sort of, the whole migration problem is going to be a very hot topic for whoever is the Prime Minister of Britain, and a number of leaders across Europe. And it seems to me that the evidence shows that they're tackling it right at the end of the very last bit of the journey, which is when they arrive into Europe. And although there are attempts from Italy and Greece, who have fairly less tolerant approach to migration, as particularly, migration full stop, never mind illegal migration, they are doing deals with unrecognised governments who have a fairly long track record of very torture, rape, disappearance of people, and perhaps many European people, and including British people, might question whether that is the correct approach, and that perhaps the start of migration and dealing with it should start way back in helping persuade people not to get on a boat, because most of these people do not want to leave their homeland. They feel like they've been forced into it, and they're taking on a whole range of difficult, dangerous journeys to get away from danger.
That's the word I wanted to pick up on. But we obviously all talk about the small boat crossings across the Channel often, and there are sadly too often stories of people dying doing that. How dangerous is this crossing? I mean,
this is the world's most dangerous migration route. It is the world's most dangerous migration route in terms of deaths, in terms of near deaths, and let's look at what happened in 2015, which saw more than 1 million people crossing, and they went through Turkey at that point. At that point, President Erdogan was, as he is now, still in charge. And the suggestion, we covered that, my same crew covered that very meticulously, even getting on a boat and seeing the whole route. Now, at that point, it was clear to us President Erdogan was allowing this to continue. And in return, the following year, he got a €1 million deal to try and stop it. And I feel that this is history repeating itself with the authorities in East and West Libya, with General Haftar, who's basically in charge, the dictator in charge of East Libya. Certainly the suggestion is from a number of humanitarian groups and people who are tracking this, and we've witnessed it ourselves, that he is in absolute control in that part of the country. So the suggestion is, well, how is he not in control of illegal migration? And yet we've seen a spike of boats arriving in Greece, and the suggestion is that he's This is a manipulation to encourage cooperation, deals, economic deals, as well as international recognition from the European. Of course, we've put this to the East Libyan authorities and they have categorically denied it.
Well, you could also, not to be facetious, ask the same question, I guess, of the French then. I mean, if we're saying you could stop this and do so there, then perhaps the same would be applied in Northern Europe. But that's a debate for another day. Alex, fantastic stuff as ever. Can we steal you next hour as well?
Steal me.
Excellent. More to come, guys.
Make the
More
most
to
of it.
come. And do watch Alex's full report. Scan the QR code there on your screen right now to do so.